Hi, Todd Christie, Speaker of the House, Michigan Dental Association, wishing you a happy summer of 2020. Wanted to check in with you following up on our MDA June board meeting. You'll find information about that from Dr. Bill Patrick with a review of what occurred. But I'm going to follow up on some things following our House of Delegates back here in May. First, thank you for surviving the virtual MDA House of Delegates. Little feedback as well as on our meeting, we did have a lot of other individuals from outside observing, and one of those we had was the speaker from the American Dental Association as well as the ADA team that helps him in creating theirs. And we found out here a week and a half ago that the House of Delegates for ADA will be virtual as well coming in up October. So the travel plans for those that are made for going down to Orlando, that's changed. Everyone will be meeting virtually with that. So and the feedback that they garnered from ours and the information that we worked on with them subsequently is going to help that be a successful house for the ADA. And we're looking forward to that. Now, the next thing that I want to talk to you about is the 2020 House of Delegates survey. As of the making of this video, we had 87 respondents. Thank you to everybody who has taken the time to go through and give feedback. I appreciate that, as does the MDA team. Gone through and reviewed all the feedback and the surveys that we had back with that one, because we want to make sure we improve upon this past year. Now, obviously, this past year being virtual is different than any other of our home houses before. But one thing you even saw in there is questions as to if a virtual house would be something to look at, or if we want to go back. And obviously, there's a lot of feedback of being back together again in 2021 and looking forward to that. But we'll try and take what we learned from the virtual house and improve upon where we can to make it a better experience for you, and look at your time commitment that you've made, find the best ways to connect so you can get the information and also the deliberation and the elections that we need to get accomplished. A couple of things I did kind of pull out from it are as follows. The importance of with the components and regional caucuses. One thing that we can look at through the year, in particular, I think a lot of folks said they want to have more stuff to talk about. Well, the board can do so much, but also that's what the components and the regional caucuses are about. You know, for my now nearly 20 plus years of being involved at the component and at the state level, I remember, and some of you back there as well will look and say, well, there used to be a lot more coming from the components and the caucuses, and there was. I think that's something I'm going to work on this year to help. And if you have ideas, bring ideas to me if you'd like. Take them to the trustees throughout the year. It might be something we can get going during the year instead of waiting. Do not be afraid to reach out. You have on the website easy access to get a hold of trustees for your component meetings. Reach out and ask for a trustee to come to those. Probably virtually is going to be the best way to do that, unless you do happen to have a trustee that might be able to travel to see you all. Give them feedback. That's what they're there for. Realize that before every board meeting that you have a trustee reaching out to every component president as well as executive team member for the component if they have one. And so there is that outreach going between the board as well as the components. But with these ideas, we want to be able to bring resolutions forward from the components if you want to do that. I am more than willing to help at any time. And Michelle Nichols-Cruz and I can work together to help you craft that or see, is there existing policy for your idea, or can we improve? And that's the big part of it. Now, when it comes to regional caucuses, meeting before the House of Delegates next year, great idea. Review the resolutions. And one group actually in the survey work talked about the mentoring that can go on at those with the more seasoned delegates that we hear about, as well as the new folks. Sometimes there's mentoring that can go on both ways in that regard for getting ideas. You never know who in your component might have experience outside of the dental realm that can help us out and help us succeed. That would be one part. Somebody said they want to get together and have pros and cons, have a virtual meeting ahead of time. Well, that's what your caucus is really about, but not against anything. After every one of our meetings that we have for the board, you do have a presentation as to what went on. So you can read that stuff ahead of time, and as soon as it's ready to go, we process it. It's going to be on the House website, so you can take a look and see what's coming up. The other part that I want to jump into as well is what we call the reference committee. Now this year, we didn't hear much testimony. I think one time we heard it. Preparing for the reference committee hearing goes back to that meeting from one, delegates and alternates reading through their resolutions, their component meeting, as well as the third, the regional caucuses. I anticipate that next year the regional caucuses should be spirited. They should have stuff coming up. Whatever I can do to help, let me know. But that's where you go through and look at the pros and cons of resolution, determine if you have a position for your caucus. Determine if just your component feels that way. You've got to figure those things out, and being able to discuss those is the best way to do it. But that's one thing I would look at. Like I said, if you want to help develop content, you have a question, you know that you can get a hold of me. And I've found my email and my cell phone are always available here on the website as well with that. Now, one area that I've seen over the past 3 years, and I know the speakers before have as well, is questions that come up as conversations in the House could have about insurance companies and government controls. This is an area that I'm going to strongly encourage you to get involved with the dental pack. Go back and go to the website and take a look and see what's going on with the Committee on Governmental and Insurance Affairs, or the CGIA. Those are groups that I think you should reach out to. Those, the CGIA, the dental pack, the MDA team. Bill Sullivan and the team there at MDA can help get some answers, point you in the right direction, but more so, we want to get feedback, and that's what we have our committee structure for, is to get information. Everyone who's on those committees is all listed on the website as well. If you go under for the committee structures, you can see that. It might be somebody you know from the past or somebody that's in your component, and ask them what's going on. It might not be a bad idea to get that information to your component meeting so you can talk about it. Not just the week before the House of Delegates. This is year round. Just like your practice, it's year round. It's not just one weekend a year go to take a look at this. But as I said, go to the website. The CGIA minutes are on there from the past year. Figure this out. You've got to be a little bit proactive to get after there and get this information. The third area I want to talk about is the election process in the NOMCOM. The nominating committee is who does the work to go through and vet the candidates that you saw before you. For the past 3 years, the Speaker serves as the chair of the Election Commission, so I have some dealings. After the NOMCOM is met, they turn that over to the Election Commission to go through and process the election. Now, it's abundantly clear from the survey work that I've seen, as well as talking to delegates, is that the House of Delegates wants choices in their elections. You want it. You want to be able to vote and have your vote count and find the right people to represent you at the board level. So I suggest you start now in making sure that you have choices for your 2021 MDA elections. I don't think you should rely solely on the NOMCOM to do all the work for finding qualified candidates. First, I'm going to tell you, take a look in the mirror. See if you're ready to step up and take a leadership role. If you want to find out more about that, in this Delegate Digest, you're going to have the position descriptions. And I'll give you 2 to start with to take a look at. Take a look at being an MDA trustee, or take a look at really, I think, where the training ground for MDA trustees can come from, which is the ADA delegation. We know how many approximately we're going to have for every year for what the MDA will fund for going for those meetings. But I can tell you that's where people have come up and can step up into leadership in the future. The ADA delegation is a great entry point, but the MDA trustees is another area that we are going to need the brightest and best in the MDA to be there next with those. So look for those position descriptions, and you'll see those. Now, for the September Delegate Digest, the nominating committee will have already met in August. And for the September Delegate Digest, I'm going to provide more content through Delegate Digest to you about time commitments, energy commitments, for what do you really have to do. And hopefully I'm going to work on getting some sage advice for you from previous MDA leaders as to what they see. As again, the NOMCOM can only, if you read the report from the NOMCOM, I suggest go back and read it and see the work that they did to get there. Now, the second portion, besides figuring out for yourself if you want to do that, which by the way, you should, in the second in the Delegate Digest, I've got it listed so you'll see all the NOMCOM representatives for the regions that are in there. Go through and take a look at that list and find out who your NOMCOM representative for your region is. Make sure that the voice of your component is heard. Confirm that NOMCOM rep is involved with your component. If it's a regional one, see if they can make it to a meeting virtually, in person, however. But make sure you're staying engaged with them. They can't tell you all the inner workings of the NOMCOM, but they can hear who that you feel, or whether it's yourself or someone else, and talk to them. They might reach out to somebody and they may, just to find out if there's interest, or say, we've had people step forward and say, they think that you'd be an excellent person. Now, this is not the time to throw someone you don't like under the bus and make them go to the NOMCOM. Really, truly think about it. Who do you believe, whether yourself or others, can be the leader for an MDA? And that's what we're looking for with those, because not only is it the MDA's goal is always helping member dentists succeed, but the leadership that you elect is who helps the MDA succeed. So those are some areas I just want to kind of highlight from the survey work, because the election process and the other areas, the resolutions, is all what we handle and what you handle and vote upon at the MDA House. But for me, the leadership is something that is the strength of our association, and we need to continue that. And I hope that is something gives you a little bit of thought, because we need your help. The MDA needs your help, and we look forward to that. So, in closing, thank you again for allowing me to serve for you over the coming year as your Speaker of the House. Thank you for your hard work you did during our House of Delegates here this year virtually, and have a great summer, and I'll see you back in September.